Hey everybody, this is Chad Warren from chadwarren.me. Hope you're well. I wanted to pay respect to Lift the Veil. I'm not sure the content producer's name, even though I've watched them quite a bit. Maybe you just his not his coverage of this Trump Biden story, but the way that he is developing as a intelligence an independent intelligence analyst, an entertaining YouTube personality. He's even keel, right? He's got his own perspective, but he's talking about mainstream events. But it's all about what information you pick out that you think is worthwhile. And it's about being able to condense complicated information down into wording that anybody can understand when it comes to the economy. You know what I mean? Like, imagine a world where you don't have to watch somebody from Wall Street and this corporate owned media with their Masonic Zionist mindset to influence everything. Now, he is pretty pro Trump, but he's a truth seeker. He follows the information where it leads and not just where he wants things to go. I am typically very critical of Trump because my worldview is conspiratorial. The Masons control both sides of anything. Okay, and that connects to Zionism, to Talmudic, the Talmud, the Babylonian Talmud, the influence of the Talmud from Babylon regarding the Kabbalah and all this stuff when the Jews were in captivity. Most modern Jewish people, like 85+% of them, are Ashkenazi, which means they're from the Caucasus Mountains. White people, they're not Semitic. So when somebody says something's anti-Semitic, they're not correct at all. And I don't hate anybody. There's all kinds of Jewish people that don't like this. Look up the Transfer Agreement by Edwin Black. He's Jewish and explains how Zionists teamed up with Hitler, and Hitler founded Israel. Because the Rothschild Zionists, the super rich people that want to rule the world, they push around the other Jewish people and use them like pawns and kill them for political advantage and all that kind of stuff. So we're all on the same team, the good people against the liars. But anyway, amazing here. So even if it is a performance as part of like an adult version of pro wrestling that is politics, you got me fooled. The way he has this press conference, and the guy that is the host of Lift the Veil saying he lost his temper. I don't see that in this press conference. I see that he is nipping it in the bud right there. This is the best kind of behavior from the business world, where you need somebody that's not afraid to stand up to power and to be themselves. And you know what I mean? Like, that really is that aspect where you want to a populist, a rich person that is acting the way that you would act if you had earned your way into power and were able to be frank, uh, because we're talking about people that want to destroy the Bill of Rights. They don't want you to have freedom of speech. They don't want you to have the ability to defend yourself. So we need somebody that can know what's going on and deal with that. And it is a bunch of organized crime bosses that run the world. So it takes one to deal with one. So let's take a listen and look here.
But let me just tell you, the whole thing is a scam. The Mueller deal was a scam. The Russian collusion was a scam. You can ask Putin. Nobody's been rougher on Russia than Donald Trump, okay? Now, with that being said, it would be great to get along with Russia, and we will get along with Russia because it's smart. But nobody's been tougher on Russia than Donald Trump.
Okay. That's news. Schiff helped write it. Well, I had seen reports earlier that the way the complaint was written was way too good for some anonymous CIA so-called whistleblower to write it himself. So there was even an article in one of the mainstream how to write a good letter. So we think he had help with it. Donald Trump says that's what people are saying. He said that's what people are saying, is that he wrote it.
Yes, there's nothing to finish. So, you know what? I hate to say it's the New York Times. I can't believe they wrote it.
Your response to the
Maybe
fact
they're getting better.
Your response to the fact that that happened and that Schiff may have learned some of what the whistleblower knew prior to the complaint.
Well, I think it's a scandal that he knew before. I go a step further. I think he probably helped write it. Okay? That's what the word is.
That's what the word is.
And I think
that's what the word is. He is the president. That would be a scandal. All right, check this out. He lost his temper talking about Ukraine and Biden. The mainstream media is still trying to cover up for Biden, even though more stuff keeps coming out. Oh, but they did have to report on China today. NBC did, so I might play some of that. This is after Trump said that he thinks Schiff may have helped write the whistleblower complaint. Here, this is part of that same news conference.
Mr. President, can you just make clear right here, what do you or what did you want President Zelensky to do with regard to Joe and Hunter Biden?
if you look at what he said, okay, and he brought it up. I think he brought up the name Rudy Giuliani. What I want is the following, and I've said this loud and clear. We have our ambassadors here. We have Mike Pence here. Why are we the only ones that give the big money to the Ukraine? We give money to Ukraine, and it's bothered me from day one, and you have plenty of people just here. I say, how come it's always the United States that gets ripped? Frankly, Ukraine, we want to help them.
All right, so another factor of this whole thing is that he was supposedly withholding military aid, and some astute analysts have made the point that he might have a great idea not sending the Ukraine military aid, and it might be worth it looking into why we send the Ukraine about $500 million in military aid that just basically stokes conflict with Russia. So here he is talking about why he didn't give them the money and loses his temper at this reporter.
And I do like the new president. You know why I like him? Because he was honest. Because he said there was no pressure at all exerted on me, meaning him, by the President of the United States. He said it. By the way, that one sentence should stop this. But he said there was no pressure exerted. But you don't have to ask him. All you have to do is read the transcript, read the telephone call. But what I was having a problem with are two things. Number one, Ukraine is known before him for tremendous corruption. Tremendous. More than just about any country in the world. In fact, they're rated one of the most corrupt countries in the world. And I don't like giving money to a country that's that corrupt. Number two,
You don't like
I
giving
said,
money.
excuse me, number two, I said the following, and I said this loud and clear to everybody. And in fact, Rob Portman backed me up, and there's nobody more honorable than Rob Portman of Ohio. Because he called up, please let the money go. I said, Rob, I hate being the country that's always giving money when Ukraine helps Europe and the European countries far more than they help us. They're like a wall between Russia and Europe. They're like a wall. They're a big, wide, beautiful wall. And he said, you know what, but it's important. And in fact, he came out and because we were the sucker country for years and years. We're not the sucker country anymore. But I gave the money because Rob Portman and others called me and asked. But I don't like to be the sucker. And European countries are helped far more than we are. And those countries should pay more to help Ukraine. Ask a question, please.
Thank you, sir. Mr.
What about Mr. Biden? What did you want about Biden? What did you want him to look into on Biden?
Look, Biden and his son are stone cold crooked. And you know it. His son walks out with millions of dollars. The kid knows nothing. You know it, and so do we. Go ahead, ask a question.
But the question, sir, was what did you want President Zelensky to do about Vice President Biden and his son Hunter?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, it was just a follow-up of what I just asked you, sir.
Listen, you ready? We have the president of Finland. Ask him a question.
I have one for him. I just wanted to follow up on the one that I asked you, which
Did
was,
you hear
what
me?
did you want
Did you
him
hear
to
me?
Yes,
Ask
sir.
him a question.
I will, but
I've given you a long answer. Ask this gentleman a question. Don't be rude.
No, sir, I don't want to be rude. I just wanted you to have a chance to answer the question that I asked
I've
you.
answered everything. It's a whole hoax. And you know who's playing into the hoax? People like you and the fake news media that we have in this country. And I say in many cases, the corrupt media, because you're corrupt. Much of the media in this country is not just fake, it's corrupt. And you have some very fine people, too. Great journalists, great reporters. But to a large extent, it's corrupt and it's fake. Ask the president of Finland a question, please.
Okay, I'll move on now. Mr. President, in your opening remarks, you said to President Trump that you had been to some museums today.
All right, you guys
and
got
that you
it.
respected.
That's Donald Trump losing his temper, calling out the corrupt media, the fake news media, calling bullshit, talking about shifty shift, shifty shift, saying he should be, shifty shift should be brought up on treason, he says.
All right, so there you hear it from Lift the Veil and Donald Trump. I believe his performance. I believe that we were seeing somebody who was responding to the situation on the ground. All of that could have been scripted, but I sure don't think so. You know? And when he's talking about the fake news, which we've heard this phrase forever, that he's talking about how the Jewish community, which when I say that, I'm referring to these Rothschild Zionists, these rich people that want to rule the world. There's another post on my channel where you can see a Kabbalah teacher explain to his class, who themselves are shocked, that they believe that the Jewish people are aliens from another dimension sent here to take over Earth because we're stupid. I mean, his own words. Look it up. Okay? Not all Jewish people think any of this stuff, right? But I can't get this to work right, but I was going to show you, the Masons wrote the Bible. So this is what we're talking about. Corrupt information. If you've got malware in computers and viruses, right, then you also have that in the world of the spoken and written language. English. Okay? And all this Kabbalah numerology stuff is real. Israel. Because John Dees, who was the court magician for Queen Elizabeth, he coined the phrase British Empire, okay, and he used Enochian magic, which is from these fallen angels, or however you want to look at it in the Bible, and America was crafted as a fake freedom movement, just like Trump himself is talking about fake news, that the media expert Marshall McLuhan said the medium is the message. You see, by the way that you frame reality within the television screen, the computer screen, the English language was put together by these wizards with content in it that we're not aware of, that is subconsciously persuading people. It's how it got adopted to be the #1 language in the world, because it's convenient to have a universal language. You know, China and Japan don't get along, so they can speak English, and then that stops that problem about whose language of man and machine into a collective hive mind. We are going to have to learn all of the things. So we are merging with government. We are having to learn how to be intelligence agents. You see what I'm saying? We are law enforcers. We're on both sides of everything. That's why I think that's what's going on with that Star of David symbol, with the triangle up and the triangle down. The Bible says they're the best and worst of us, and that there will be a remnant of them that's saved. I grew up as a Christian, but all of that is suspect to me. The Masons wrote the Bible, and back to this situation, it matters whether it's a crazy idea that's made up or not. It's a real idea, though. And I just wanted to get on here and say that maybe when I say that these Masons, like Trump, who has thanked his Kabbalah teacher and all that when I say that they play both sides, right? The left and the right, the rich and the poor, whatever position on the chessboard, they're playing to win. So that usually means that there's a corruption going on, right? But it can also mean that they do tell the truth, that they do fight for the truth as a part of an alchemical concept, meaning you have to play all the pieces on the chessboard. So I want us to start thinking about this kind of grand political strategy. I want us to think about the value of the interactivity of this internet world, so that somebody like Lift the Veil is doing a quality job in digesting what the mainstream media releases, and here I am at another tier below that. You see, and what that does is that's creating a decentralized intelligence network, just like there's these news networks that all read off the same cue card, which has been caught. You see, you need to get aware that psychological operations like these shootings and all of that can be used to control public opinion and legislation and behavior and whatnot. I would like to hear a comment from James and Michael of Don't Fear the Future podcast. I put them in a similar boat as a Lift the Veil in being an even keel analysis that's in depth of current, and that they're Trump supporter patriot types. I'd like to hear how y'all are covering this differently, this Biden impeachment story. I thought this was just another no big deal, but they really are pushing for something to happen here. I don't support voting, but I think that if this drama encourages us to get serious about how we process this information and how we take action on it, then I support it wholeheartedly. And yeah, check out the Don't Fear the Future podcast at blogtalkradio.com/infinite source. They invited me to interview them about their podcast, and that went really well. So that was a big step for me to start getting off the sidelines and teaming up with other people. And that's all I got to say about that. Thank you very much. Check out chadwarren.me. Give me your likes, your comments, your shares, and let me know what is important to you if you perceive yourself to be a part of this independent, truth-seeking, interactive revolution that is being the change they want to see in the world. Thank you.